I have just a few minutes to get prepared, but not many. I called Corey, I used up 2 of my minutes begging him. He had just got in from work, he's the chairman, so I figured, we'll start at the top, and go from there. He said, that's all right, just go ahead since you knew it first. Here we are. But it's kind of a, I got to tell this story first. If we run over time, that's fine. I want y'all to think about your journey. What is your journey? Why are you here? What brought you here? And I don't mean necessarily just to this particular place that we are tonight. I'm talking about what brought you to this area, what brought you to this church, what brought you, why are we even here doing anything? What's your mission? What is your journey? And I think maybe we'll touch a little bit. It's also, what I want to talk a little bit is about being prepared and not being caught by surprise. We all should basically have a sermon in our back pocket that we can share at some point. I can remember my early days of being here when Brother Jack Dowdy was here, and he used to sit best I could remember in this chair here, all during the service. And I saw him on many times open his Bible and start looking for something. And when he'd get up to preach, he said, this is not the sermon I prepared, but this is what the Lord led me to preach today. So he always was able to improvise, if you want to put it that way. I hate to use that word, or improvise means that you're kind of changing a little bit, but like him, he was listening to the Spirit. So I hope this will touch somebody in some way that we can realize what our journey is and what brought us here. My first real big experience with people in this church was before, well, it was when me and Vicki were dating. It was before we got married. And I think it probably was the summer before we got married. This is going to involve 2 people in here that might remember this story, they might not, I don't know. But it was something that I was not prepared for. And it was not exactly what I thought it would be, but it's turned out great. There was one Saturday, Vicki, I don't know if she called me or I don't know, maybe we planned this on Friday night, but it involved Dorcas and Al. They were part of the problem. Part of the solution, if you want to put it. I had it right first. But they might remember this before we get through. But anyway, that Saturday, I think it was planned on Friday, there was a group of men from this church that was going to go singing on the alcohol. And I knew one person personally. That was her daddy, Mr. Mook. And I only knew him for a short time, at this time, but, I had heard of him a lot in my life. The other person, I had seen Al and, had admired his journey through the basketball, and, he was a person to admire. He was him and Janice are much older than me, so as a little kid, I could picture this as being a great person, Now Dorcas, I had never heard of. I still had trying to figure out how to say his name. I had heard him called everything but Dorcas. So you can just imagine, I was 16 years old and going off with a bunch of people with something I loved to do, and that was singing. I loved to do it. But I had never been off with this woman. And I didn't know what to expect. I was unprepared. Let's just say between my father-in-law and Mr. Al's dad and Dorcas's father-in-law, I thought there would be a drowning before it was over with. The last thing I remember was Mr. George's hat floating down the creek, because Mr. Mudd had talked him into stepping off a little bit deeper. And if y'all knew them, they didn't sound like they liked each other. They acted like they really didn't care if one of them did drink. Well, when Mr. George come up, it was not true, to say the least. But to get on to the end of the story was, it turned out great that day, didn't it, boys? We had a good day. I learned a lot. I was not prepared for what I saw, but yet, over the years, I learned that them two men did love each other. They just had a different way of showing it. That was their way of introducing me to this church. And this church has been wonderful to me. It really has. It's been more of a home church to me than my home church. It has made me mature more. It has helped me mature better. And I know some of y'all say, whew, that ain't very far. But I'm going to tell you, for y'all that don't know me, it wouldn't have been too many years ago, I definitely would not be where I'm standing right now. I would be right there behind Randy, trying to hide behind him. Because I was not one to get up and say it. But I want you to think about your journey, and if y'all got something to say as we go along, I want you to respond. Because this is not my sermon. This is not my message. This is our message. And I hope it touches you. I'm going to look at several verses, but I'm going to start in the 4th chapter of Mark. You don't have to stand, because I'm going to kind of read and explain a little bit as we go along. It's the 4th chapter of Mark. We're going to just kind of touch. I kind of want to set up what I'm talking about. I want you to look in your mind's eye, just picture this as part of your journey. This is the beginning of Jesus' ministry. I mean, he's getting into it now, and he's teaching and trying to explain the gospel to people and understand what his mission is, what his journey on this earth is. You know, and he's trying to teach all these things before he knows it's time to leave. And he only has a certain amount of time, and we know that. But as you think about Jesus is standing here on this boat, and I'll go ahead and read the first verse. It said, and he began again. You know, that means he's already been doing this, but he began again to teach by the seaside. And there was a gathering unto him, a great multitude. You know, there were a lot of people that come to hear him preach or teach, whatever. So that he entered into a ship and sat in the sea, and the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. And he taught them many things by parables, and said unto them in his doctrine. So Jesus is teaching a great multitude of people. He's on a ship, on the seashore, kind of like a stage. He's kind of like being up there. And he's out teaching all these things. And then we're going to skip down to verse 35. And it's going to kind of make the story make a little more sense about what your journey is. It's the beginning. We're going to go to the end of your journey. And we're going to see that there's victory in our journey. I don't care what kind of storms you're going to have. There's still victory in your journey. And the same day, which is after he had taught a little bit, the very same day that he was on the seashore teaching, even when the evening had come, he said unto them, and he's talking about the disciples that are going to go with him. He's talking to them, let us pass over unto the other side. Jesus says, I need a little rest. Let's get on the ship and let's go to the other side. And you know, he knows there's going to be people to teach over there also. But he said, let's go. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship, and there was also with him other little ships. Just keep in mind, as this one ship with Jesus and his disciples is sailing off, there's other people following in little ships. They're tagging along, if you want to put it that way. And there arose a great storm of wind, and there was waves beating into the ship, so that it was now full. I mean, it's taking on water. They think it's fixing to sink. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awaked him, and said unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? You know, how many times have we ever been in the middle of a storm and we look and say, Lord, do you even care? Are you even here? Do you even know I'm going through this? We want to blame somebody else for our troubles, don't we? And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. 3 little words. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. I can just imagine how that water would slick his eyes. I can just imagine how quick it got there. And he said unto them, why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? See, this could be not only about our journey, but about our faith. What tests your faith? What things have tested your faith along this journey? And they feared exceedingly and said one to another, what manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? See, they were just learning who he was. But my question is, put in your mind that as they were on the seashore and Jesus was giving all these parables, he asked them to enter the ship. Look in your own life and say, okay, that's the point of salvation. That's the day that Jesus entered my heart. That's the day I picked up and I walked on the ship with him. I'm going to follow Jesus. Now we're in the boat with Jesus together. We're in the ship. We're in safe water. Everything's sailing along. And all of a sudden, what happens? We get a storm. Now, is there anybody in here that's never been through a storm? What is your storm? You know, there's many different storms. Right now, from my friend over there is going through, right now he's going through a tragedy of his dad passing away. I don't care what color it is. It makes no difference. It's the same on the inside. But if he finds a little comfort in something I said or done, that's great. At least maybe something I've done or said has made a positive impact. But what is your storm? Is it financial? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? I think these people right here, they were kind of in between a rock and a hard place. Theirs was not only physical that was fixing to happen. I think theirs was spiritual. They were still learning who Jesus was. And it's like I think about my journey, you know, along the way. As I said, that I came from another church and came here, and I've matured a little bit, but I'm still not grown. I'm still not where God wants me. And you'll see in a minute that we're all going to get there one day. So what is your reason for being here? Did you step on the ship with Jesus, and have you sailed many waters? Have you sailed through many roads? Have you sailed through life? And it's been a while. You know, 40 years can get away from you quick. 50 years can get away from you quick. Some of y'all that's just getting out of high school, you probably don't realize what 10 years ago was like. You know, where were you 10 years ago, y'all two young girls? It's a little closer than you think. It's been there. So, you know, we think about our journey, and you know, I hope your journey, even though it has storms, I hope you know where to go. These men knew where to go. They went to Jesus during the midst of the storm, and they asked him, you know, not necessarily that they asked him in faith. They were a little bit critical. Sometimes do we go to Jesus a little bit critical? You say, God, I've been in the midst of the storm. This boat's just about to sink. Are you even going to help? Or where are you? But he's always in the boat. He never left the boat. He never leaves you stranded. And for me, that's great comfort to know that God's always with us. All we have to do is ask. Once they admitted and asked Jesus, you know, could you help us? What did he do? He immediately responded. Peace came. One more verse. And they came over to the other side of the sea, into the country of Galilee. The most important part is they came over to the other side of the sea. The journey was complete. They made it. According to what I read in the scripture, nobody lost their life. Nobody was left behind. So I find great comfort in knowing that if you get on the ship with Jesus, he asks you into his ship, and you're in his presence, you're in his hands, if you want to put it, there's nothing that will ever separate you from God. Now I know there's a verse in here that said they were also loving little ships. necessarily people that just follow Jesus just to be followed to see what he's going to do. But I think we need to be in the ship. I don't think we need to be the little ships following. I think we need to be in the ship. I think once you're in the ship, you're there forever. But the great comfort is knowing we'll make it to the other side.